He mocked his wife for being fat, but karma taught him the hardest lesson. Lydia was 35 years old, a big, beautiful woman with a warm smile and a kind heart. Hello, family. Welcome back to the channel. Please don't forget to subscribe and leave a beautiful comment for us. It truly means the world. Also, share this video with your friends and loved ones. And remember to turn on post notifications so you never miss any of our future stories. Thank you so much for the love and support. She wasn't slim like the women in fashion magazines or the ladies you see showing off online. No, Lydia was round and full, but in her body was a beauty that was real and comforting. Her laughter could fill a whole room. Her hugs could chase sadness away. Her words could calm a storm. She lived in Lagos with her husband, Michael, and their 2 children, Grace, who was 8, and Daniel, who was 5. They were not rich. In fact, life had been hard for them for many years. They stayed in a small, one-room apartment at the back of an old compound. The zinc roof leaked whenever it rained. Sometimes the floor would flood, and Lydia would place buckets everywhere to catch the dripping water. Their bed was small and squeaky. Their wardrobe was just a wooden box. When there was no gas, she cooked with firewood behind the house, her wrapper tied high as smoke filled the air. But Lydia never complained. Michael, her husband, was tall, dark, and handsome. He was smart too, one of those men whose eyes carried dreams. But life had not been kind to him. He had a degree, but no good job. Every day, he walked the streets of Lagos with his old brown file, searching for work that never came. At night, when he returned home tired, Lydia would take his bag, rub his shoulders, and whisper softly, "Don't worry, my love. One day, everything will change. You will wear a suit and tie. You will sit in a big office. You will drive your own car. And people will call you Sir." Michael would smile weakly. "Amen, Lydia. But look at us now. Look where we are." And Lydia would touch his cheek with her chubby hand and say, "Where we are doesn't matter. Who we are matters more. I believe in you. And one day, the world will see the man I see." Those words were like fire in his heart. Whenever the world made him feel small, Lydia's faith made him stand tall again. They had little, but they had love. And in that love, Lydia found her strength. Every morning before sunrise, she woke up quietly so she wouldn't disturb the children. She went to the kitchen, mixed beans paste, and started frying a cara by the roadside. The smell of hot oil filled the air. As she greeted her regular customers, people rushing to work, students heading to school, and drivers looking for breakfast. Sometimes she cleaned offices for extra money. Sometimes she washed clothes for people. Every little coin she made, she brought home. "Here," she would say, pressing the money into Michael's hand. "Buy newspaper. Check for new job adverts. Don't stop trying." Michael often felt embarrassed, but he took the money because he knew Lydia believed in him. And that belief was powerful. One day, while Lydia was frying a cara, one of her customers, a woman who worked in a company nearby, mentioned that there was a job opening for a clerk. Lydia's eyes widened. "What kind of job?" she asked quickly. The woman smiled. "An office job. They're taking applications today." Lydia didn't wait another minute. She packed her akara, washed her hands, and rushed home. "Michael," she shouted as she entered the room, "wear your best shirt and comb your hair. There's an interview happening today." Michael looked up from the chair, tired and hopeless. "Lydia, those people don't want people like me. I've tried so many times. I'm tired." But Lydia stood tall and firm. "If you don't go, I will drag you there myself." "Do you want to live in this one room forever?" "You are not useless, Michael. You are smart, and one day the world will see it." Michael stared at her face, her eyes full of fire, her voice strong with love, and he sighed. "All right, I'll go." That afternoon, Michael went for the interview, and 2 weeks later, a letter arrived. Lydia opened it with shaking hands, and when she saw the words, "You have been employed," she screamed so loud the whole compound heard. "Jehovah, you have done it!" she shouted, dancing and clapping. "My husband has a job! My husband has a job!" She ran to hug him, laughing and crying at the same time. Michael held her close, his eyes wet. "You never stopped believing, Lydia. This is all because of you. From that day, everything began to change. Slowly, but surely. Michael started working in an office. The salary wasn't much at first, but it was steady. Lydia kept selling Akara, but now she added soft drinks and bread. Together, they paid rent, bought new clothes for the children, and even managed to save a little each month. 5 years later, Michael was promoted. His bosses liked him because he was smart and hard-working. In time, he became a manager with a big salary, a big office, and even a company car. When they finally moved out of their one-room apartment into a 2-bedroom flat, Lydia cried as they packed their things. She looked at the old leaking zinc and whispered softly, "Thank you for sheltering us." Michael laughed. "You're thanking a leaking roof?" Lydia smiled. "A grateful woman thanks everything." Their new house was bright and clean. Grace and Daniel now went to better schools. Lydia bought new clothes, and Michael began buying her small gifts, wrappers, handbags, even jewelry. Sometimes he would come home smiling and give her a little surprise. "For my queen," he would say, placing the gift in her hands. Lydia's joy was full. They had come so far, and she was proud of her husband. But something else began to change, something Lydia couldn't explain. Michael started staying longer at work. He began spending weekends out. When she asked, he would say, "I'm busy, Lydia. You won't understand." He started paying more attention to his phone and less to his wife. At first, Lydia thought it was stress. But soon, she noticed how his eyes looked at her differently, not with love, but with distance. Then came the jokes. "Lydia, you're getting fatter every day. This your arm. Like pounded yam." He would laugh, and sometimes his friends at work would join in. Lydia would smile and laugh too, but when she went to bed at night, her pillow became wet with tears. She remembered when he had nothing, how she fed him, clothed him, and prayed for him. Now, the man she built was slowly tearing her down, but Lydia didn't stop believing. She prayed harder. She told herself, "This is just a phase. My husband will come back to his senses." She didn't know that love was about to be tested in a way she never imagined, because while Lydia was still holding on to the man she loved had already begun to let go. And somewhere, in a fancy restaurant across town, Michael was smiling at another woman, slim, elegant, and young, a woman who would soon call him hers. That evening, while Lydia was home serving dinner to their children, Michael was sitting in a fancy restaurant across town. He wasn't supposed to be there. He had gone out for a business meeting, but when it ended, one of his colleagues, a man named Tony, had insisted they stay for a drink, and that was where Michael first saw her. Her name was Bella. She was slim, tall, and beautifully dressed in a red gown that shimmered softly under the restaurant lights. Her long braids fell gracefully down her back, and her perfume filled the air as she walked past. She smiled politely at the men seated near the bar. Michael's eyes followed her without meaning to. Tony noticed. Michael," he whispered, grinning. "You like what you see?" Michael laughed awkwardly. "She's just striking." "Her name is Bella," Tony said. "She works with one of our partner companies. Single, classy, and full of confidence." Michael chuckled. "You seem to know a lot." Tony shrugged. "We all do. Every man in this place has tried his luck. But she's picky. She only likes successful men." That last line lingered in Michael's mind. Successful men. For years, Lydia had called him her king, even when he had nothing. Now, for the first time, someone else's admiration felt different. He didn't plan to approach Bella that night, but when she walked up to their table to greet Tony, she smiled at Michael too. "You must be the new manager everyone's talking about," she said with a warm, teasing tone. Michael blinked. "You've heard about me?" "Of course," Bella replied smoothly. "They say you're smart, hard-working, and calm under pressure." "Quite rare." Michael smiled shyly. "You flatter me." Bella tilted her head. "Maybe, but I like men who know their worth." That was the moment something shifted inside him. That night, when he returned home, Lydia was still awake. She had kept food for him, covered carefully on the table. "You're late again," she said softly, standing from the chair. "I was worried." Michael waved his hand. "I told you I had a meeting. You don't have to wait up every night." "But You haven't eaten since morning, Lydia said, lifting the food cover. I made rice and stew. I'm not hungry, he said, walking past her. Michael, she called gently. He turned sharply. Lydia, can I rest? Must you talk every second? The words stung. Lydia froze. I'm sorry, she whispered. He sighed and went into the bedroom, leaving her standing there, tears gathering in her eyes. That was how it started. The silence, the distance, the coldness. Bella's messages started coming slowly at first. Good morning, Mr. Manager. Then, hope work isn't too stressful. Then, you looked handsome today at the meeting. Michael smiled at his phone more than usual. He told himself it was harmless, just friendly conversation. But soon, the chats became longer, warmer, and secretive. Bella was everything Lydia was not, or so he thought. She was sleek, confident, playful. She laughed easily and made him feel powerful. Lydia's laughter used to do that too, but now he didn't notice her anymore. He began dressing differently, new shirts, cologne, expensive shoes. When Lydia asked, "You're changing your style?" he said casually, "I just want to look like someone in my position." But the truth was, he wanted to look like the kind of man Bella wanted. Lydia noticed the change. She noticed how he stayed out late, how he smiled at his phone, how he suddenly guarded it like a secret treasure. She also noticed how he began looking at her differently, not with admiration, but with irritation. One evening, as she served his food, he frowned. "Lydia, why do you always cook heavy meals? Can't you try something lighter?" She looked surprised. "You've always loved pounded yam," he sighed. "I'm trying to eat healthy now. You should too. You're adding too much weight." The words cut deep, but Lydia forced a smile. "I'll try, my love." That night, she stood before the mirror, touching her stomach, her arms, her cheeks. She wasn't perfect, but she was real. She had carried his children, labored for his success, and loved him when he had nothing. Now, he looked at her as if she were too much. Weeks passed. Michael started coming home even later. Sometimes he said he had business meetings. Other times, he claimed he was working overtime. But Lydia could smell the lie. The faint perfume on his shirts that wasn't hers. The lipstick marks that he didn't notice. The distant tone in his voice when she called him darling. Her heart broke silently, piece by piece. One night, she waited for him until midnight. When he finally walked in, she asked softly, "Michael, who is Bella?" He froze, then turned sharply. "Where did you hear that name?" "I saw her message on your phone," Lydia said, tears filling her eyes. "Michael, please tell me the truth. Are you seeing her?" Michael's face twisted with anger. "So now you check my phone? You don't trust me?" She shook her head quickly. "I wasn't checking, I just—" "Shut up, Lydia," he shouted. "You've become insecure, fat, and useless. What man wants a woman who nags and snoops?" Lydia's lips trembled. "Don't talk to me like that. I'm your wife." Michael laughed bitterly. "Wife? You've been dragging me down for years. Look at you. Look at me. We don't fit anymore." He turned and slammed the bedroom door. That night, Lydia wept silently beside the same man she once prayed for every morning. Bella became bolder. She started calling during the day, sending gifts to his office, visiting him openly. Tony warned him once, "Michael, be careful. That woman has a bad name." But Michael ignored him. "I'm not doing anything wrong," he said, though deep down, he knew he was lying. Bella began to poison his mind further. "She doesn't deserve you," she whispered one night. "You're too good for her. She's holding you back." Those words sank deep into Michael's heart until one day he looked at Lydia and truly saw her as the enemy, not the woman who built him up. The final break came one Saturday morning. Lydia had woken early to make him breakfast. She wore a simple wrapper, her hair tied back, her face glowing with quiet joy. "Michael, please sit. Let's eat together before you go," she said softly. But Michael didn't even look at her. He hissed, "Can you stop talking for once? You disgust me, Lydia. I can't even look at you anymore." Grace and Daniel, sitting nearby, froze. Tears filled Lydia's eyes. "Michael, don't say that. Not in front of the children." He turned sharply. Children or not, it's the truth. You're fat and lazy. You make me sick." Before she could speak, his hand hit her face. The children screamed. "Daddy, stop!" But he shouted louder. "Get out of my house!" Lydia stumbled backward, clutching her cheek. "Michael, please, don't do this. I have nowhere to go." But he pushed her bag toward her and said coldly, "I said, get out!" She looked at her children, their faces wet with tears, and knelt to hold them close. "My babies, I love you. Mommy will come back. Don't forget me, okay?" Then, barefoot and broken, Lydia walked out into the night. The same night she once used to dream about stars now carried only pain. Behind her, the door slammed shut. She didn't look back, because some heartbreaks are too heavy to turn around for. The night was cold. The moon hid behind dark clouds as Lydia walked barefoot along the empty road, clutching her small bag tightly to her chest. Her eyes were swollen from crying. Her wrapper was loose, her feet sore from the rough ground, and her heart broken beyond words. Every step felt heavy. Her mind replayed the scene over and over again. Michael's angry face, his cruel words, the children crying and reaching for her, her own voice begging, "Please, don't do this." Now she was alone. The same man she fed when he was hungry, the same man she prayed for when he had nothing, had thrown her into the night like she was nothing. "God," she whispered weakly, "where will I go?" Her tears mixed with the dust on her cheeks as she walked through the quiet streets of Lagos. Dogs barked in the distance, but she didn't flinch. She had nothing left to fear. After walking for nearly an hour, she stopped in front of a familiar gate. It was the home of her old friend, Ada, a woman she hadn't visited in months. For a moment, Lydia hesitated. She didn't want to disturb anyone at that hour, but her legs couldn't carry her further. She raised her trembling hand and knocked softly. "Ada," her voice broke. "Ada, it's me." It took a few minutes, but soon the door opened. Ada stood there, wearing a headscarf and night wrapper. When she saw Lydia, her eyes widened in shock. "Lydia! Jesus Christ! What happened to you?" Lydia couldn't speak. She tried, but only tears came. Ada rushed forward and held her. "Come inside, my sister. Come inside." Inside, Lydia sat on the sofa, still shaking. Ada quickly locked the door, brought her water, and wrapped a shawl around her shoulders. "Talk to me, Lydia. What happened?" Lydia wiped her face with the edge of the shawl. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "He threw me out, Ada. Michael threw me out of the house. In front of the children." Ada gasped. "Threw you out? Why? What did you do?" Lydia shook her head slowly. I don't even know anymore. He says I'm fat, that I embarrass him. He said he regrets marrying me." Ada's eyes filled with tears. "Oh, Lydia, after everything you did for that man?" Lydia covered her face and wept. "I loved him, Ada. I gave him everything. When he had nothing, I stood beside him. Now that he's made it, he treats me like dirt." Ada hugged her tightly. "Don't cry, my sister. God is watching. The same God who lifted him up can bring him down." Lydia wept quietly in her friend's arms until she fell asleep. The next morning, Ada made tea and bread for her. "You can stay here as long as you need to," Ada said gently. "Thank you," Lydia whispered. "But I can't stay forever. I have to see my children again." Ada nodded. "We'll figure something out. For now, rest." Days turned into weeks. Lydia began helping Ada with her small catering business, cooking jollof rice for events, frying meat, washing dishes. It wasn't easy, but it gave her something to do. Sometimes, when she was alone, she would think of her children. She pictured Daniel's small hands holding her wrapper, Grace's soft voice calling, "Mommy, don't go." Her heart ached so badly she could barely breathe. Every night before bed, she prayed softly, "Lord, please take care of my children. Let them know their mother didn't abandon them." Meanwhile, in Michael's new world, things were changing too. Bella had moved into the house barely 2 weeks after Lydia left. She wore short dresses and high heels, filled the house with perfume and loud music, and acted like she owned everything. The children didn't like her. One morning, when Grace refused to call her mommy, Bella shouted, "You rude little girl. Don't you have manners?" Grace stood her ground. "You're not my mommy!" Michael came out angry. "Grace, apologize now." Tears filled the girl's eyes. "I want my real mommy." Michael sighed. "Your mother left us. She's not coming back." Grace shouted through her tears. "You sent her away." Her words pierced his heart like a knife. For a moment, Michael froze, but Bella rolled her eyes. "Michael, don't let a child talk to you like that." That night, Grace and Daniel cried themselves to sleep. As time went on, Michael began to notice things he had ignored before. Bella wasn't like Lydia. She didn't cook unless she was in the mood. She didn't clean. She didn't care about the children. All she wanted was money and attention. "Michael, I need a new phone." "Michael, let's travel to Dubai." "Michael, I want to go to the salon every weekend." At first, he gave her everything she asked for. But soon, the bills became too much. When he refused one day, she shouted, "Are you broke now? I thought you were a big man." Michael looked at her, shocked. "Bella, why are you talking to me like that?" She hissed. "If you can't take care of me, other men can." "I did." Michael's chest tightened. That was the first night he realized he had lost peace in his own house. The children grew quieter every day. Michael began eating alone. The laughter that once filled his home had disappeared. One evening, he came home early and found Bella talking on the phone, laughing softly. When he walked in, she quickly ended the call. "Who were you talking to?" he asked. She rolled her eyes. "My friend." "Don't start." Michael frowned. "Why were you calling your friend baby?" She turned sharply. "You listen to my conversations now. You didn't like it when your fat wife did that to you, but you're doing the same?" Michael's heart stopped. The word fat wife hit him harder than he expected. That night, he couldn't sleep. He sat in the dark, thinking about Lydia, her laughter, her food, her prayers, her hugs. He remembered how she used to rub his back after long days, whispering, "Don't worry, my love. You'll make it." Tears filled his eyes. He realized he had destroyed the only woman who ever truly loved him. The next morning, he called Bella's name. "Bella," he said quietly, "I think you should leave my house." She laughed loudly. "Excuse me? I said leave. I'm done." Bella stood up, her eyes flashing. "You're done? You think you can use me and dump me? You'll regret this, Michael." She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The silence that followed was deafening. Michael sat down slowly, staring at the walls that once echoed with Lydia's laughter and his children's joy. He put his head in his hands and cried like a child. That evening, he drove to Ada's house. He had called her earlier, asking if Lydia was there. "Yes," Ada said coldly. "She's here. But you have no right to come near her." "I just want to talk," Michael pleaded. When he arrived, Lydia was sitting outside peeling oranges for Ada's children. She froze when she saw his car. He stepped out slowly, his eyes full of regret. "Lydia," he began, but before he could say more, Ada stepped between them. "Michael, you've done enough. Leave her alone." He looked past Ada, his voice trembling. "Lydia, I'm sorry. I made a terrible mistake." Lydia stood quietly, her hands shaking. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but her voice was calm. "Michael, sorry can't undo what you did. You broke something that may never heal." He fell to his knees. "Please, forgive me. I can't live without you." She looked at him for a long time. Then she said softly, "You should have thought of that before you threw me out like trash." She turned and walked inside, leaving him kneeling in the dust, the same dust she once walked through barefoot. For the first time, Michael felt what she had felt that night, cold, alone, and broken. Days turned into weeks after Michael came begging at Ada's house. He called again and again, but Lydia never answered. Sometimes she picked up just to say, "Please stop calling me," and then she hung up. She wasn't angry anymore, just empty. Her heart had no more room for pain. One afternoon, Ada said to her, "My sister, you can't sit in silence forever. You're strong, Lydia. God is not done with you." Lydia smiled faintly. "I don't even know where to start, Ada." "I have no home, no husband, no money." Ada touched her shoulder gently. "But you have your hands. You can cook. You can work. You can build again." Those words stayed with her. That night, Lydia couldn't sleep. She sat up and whispered to herself, "I can cook. I can work. I can build again." The next morning, she woke up early, tied her wrapper, and said, "Ada, I'm going to start frying akara again." Ada smiled proudly. "That's my friend." Lydia borrowed a small table and borrowed some money from Ada to buy beans and oil. She set up her stand at a busy junction not far from the market. The first day, she sold only a few pieces. The second day, more people came. By the end of the first week, she had customers who refused to buy akara from anyone else. They called her Mama Grace's akara. And soon, her name spread across the area. People loved not just her food, but her kindness. She always gave extra pieces to children who had little money, and she always smiled, no matter how tired she was. One morning, a man in a clean suit stopped to buy akara. "Madam, this akara sweet well," he said after tasting it. Lydia laughed shyly. "Thank you, sir. Come again tomorrow." He smiled. "I will. People who cook with love always prosper." Those words touched her heart deeply. For the first time in months, she felt proud of herself again. Months passed, and Lydia's small akara business grew. She started selling pap, bread, and soft drinks too. Ada helped her rent a small shop, and together they decorated it with bright paint and a simple signboard that read, "Mama Grace's Kitchen Home Taste, Warm Heart." Every morning, Lydia prayed before opening her shop. "God, thank you for this new beginning," she would whisper. Her customers loved her. Even office workers stopped by during lunch hours. She became popular not because of fancy adverts, but because of her heart. One afternoon, while Lydia was serving food, a familiar voice spoke behind her. "Lydia." She froze. The spoon fell from her hand. She turned slowly, and there he was, Michael. He looked nothing like the proud man who once threw her out. His clothes were wrinkled, his eyes tired, his face pale. Lydia's chest tightened, but she said nothing. Michael swallowed hard. "You look well." Lydia wiped her hands quietly. "I'm busy, Michael. People are waiting." He stepped closer. "Please, just listen. I lost everything." She looked up. "Everything?" He nodded slowly. "Bella left. She took my money and ran away with another man. The company found out about her stealing from the business account. I was blamed. I lost my job." His voice cracked. "Now, even my children won't talk to me." Lydia's lips trembled. "Grace and Daniel?" "Yes," he said weakly. "They went to live with my sister. They barely look at me." For a long moment, Lydia was silent. Then she sighed deeply. "Michael, I warned you. I told you that pride destroys. But you laughed." He nodded slowly, tears falling down his face. "I know, Lydia. I was blind. You were my blessing, and I threw you away. Please, forgive me. I have nothing left but regret." Lydia looked at him, the man who had once called her fat and useless. Now he stood before her, thin, broken, and humbled. She didn't feel anger anymore, only sadness. "Michael," she said softly, "I forgave you a long time ago. Not for you, but for my own peace." He looked up, shocked. You forgave me?" She nodded. "Yes, but forgiveness doesn't mean I'll go back." His lips trembled. "I understand. I don't deserve you." Lydia looked away. "No, you don't. But you need to learn something. The woman you called fat carried the strength that fed you. The woman you insulted was the same one who prayed you into success. You broke me, Michael, but God rebuilt me." She picked up her spoon and turned back to her pot. "Now, please excuse me. Customers are waiting." Michael stood there for a long moment, tears rolling down his cheeks. Then he walked away slowly, knowing he had lost the greatest gift God ever gave him. Years passed. Lydia's business grew beyond her imagination. She opened 3 more shops, employed women who had once been struggling like her, and trained them for free. She became known as Madame Lydia, the woman who rose again. Her children, Grace and Daniel, grew up proud and strong. They finished school with good grades, and when they were old enough, they joined their mother in managing her shops. One Sunday morning, Lydia stood before a small crowd in church, testifying. She said softly, "I was broken once. The man I loved threw me away because of my size. But God took me, healed me, and lifted me higher than I ever imagined. If you're here today and you feel rejected, remember this. Man's rejection can become God's direction. The church clapped. Some people wept quietly. After the service, Grace hugged her tightly. "Mommy, I'm so proud of you." Lydia smiled, her eyes glistening. "Never forget, my child, beauty fades, but kindness never dies." That evening, as the sun set, Lydia sat outside her shop, watching people walk by. The smell of fried akara filled the air. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Thank you, Lord, for giving me beauty for ashes." And in that quiet moment, she realized something powerful. She had spent years thinking her worth came from how she looked, or who loved her. But now she knew her worth came from God, and from the strength inside her. The world had called her fat. Her husband had called her useless, but heaven had called her favored. And that was the only name that truly mattered. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it with someone who would love it, and drop your thoughts in the comments section. Your support helps the channel grow and keeps the stories coming. See you in the next one. The end.